Ladies and gentlemen, can I please have your attention? And I need all of you to stop what you're doing and listen.
It's time for the Sports Blitz, the only live-streamed local sports show in Arkansas, with all the latest on the sports stories that matter to you. Live from the Lions Den Golf Club studio, here are your hosts, Mark Freeman and Weldon Braxton.
Welcome into the Sports Blitz on a Monday. Mark Freeman, Weldon Braxton, Maddie Lassiter inside the Cogswell Motors studios. Got a lot of sports to talk today, local, state, national. Got the Arkansas Razorback basketball team. Laid a big friggin' egg.
I have a question. Time out. Did you say it was Monday?
Did I?
I'm just wondering. I thought you may have. Maybe
I may have. It's either a Monday or a Friday, but I'm going to go with Friday.
After this week, it better be Friday. After the week I had. Oof, I need a weekend.
I may have said it's Monday. It's Friday.
Please.
On the Sports Blitz, January the 10th, 2014. Let's timestamp today so that we don't. Lord, I ain't coming in for 4 more days.
And I love this show. Don't get me wrong. I do love this show. But
I ain't doing 2 more this week. Huh?
I've been under the weather this week. You can tell I was not myself on Wednesday. You can tell I'm not 100% today, but I am back in the studio, and I'm glad to be here.
We're going to give it 100 today. We're going to talk about the Razorback basketball debacle that was Wednesday night. That was just a horrible performance from the Hogs. Mike Anderson meeting with the media right now, saying that Michael Qualls is going to be back in the starting lineup, says, quote, "It's time." My question is, if the guy was the best player on your team, why was he not starting already?
It's time. Look. I mean, I can understand Mike Anderson in a way for scoring balance, but at the same time, you have to understand that your team is going on the road. You need all the advantages you can get, particularly at the beginning of the game, so you can get off to a good start, Mark. And we're going to talk about this during Hog Talk, but some things just can't wait until the second half of the show. And my feelings on the Arkansas Razorbacks are one of those things, because I sat here on Wednesday and I said unapologetically that this was a huge game for Arkansas. There was a lot more to lose than there was to gain. If Arkansas if they had won on Thursday, we would have came in and said it's great that Arkansas got a road win against a team other than Auburn. Good way to start the SEC slate. And that's really not much more you could have said. But if you lose to a Texas A&M team who is bad, I talked about how terrible Texas A&M has played so far this season. You lose to a team like that in the fashion in which you did, it's a problem. Arkansas was a 2-point favorite on the road against Texas A&M. You lose, 69-53, something like that. That doesn't bode well. I know the question's been asked around many of the state media sources. I won't steal their thunder, but the point is they want to know, was this a blip or a trend? Is this more of the same, or is this something that we won't see anymore when Arkansas plays other road games? I'm not sure. I just know this looked all too familiar.
That's the problem. Arkansas 11-3, fatten up on some cupcakes, and then you go on the road and it looked like shell shock. It was the first true road game that this team's played all year. There's something different about going to Maui and playing a team who also is having to play in Maui, right, than to go to somebody else's home. And you can tell because you watch Arkansas at Bud Walton, they look like a different team, and the other team a lot of times looks shell-shocked. Well, Arkansas was that other team, and when the shoe's on the other foot, it's not a whole lot of fun. So watching Michael Qualls go 1 for 12 and then get moved into the starting lineup. It's just kind of, I don't know. And then Bobby Portis 3 for 10. I've never seen in my life more miss. I've watched boys club basketball and not seen somebody miss layups as I saw the other night. It was unreal. And then for them to shoot 50% from the free throw line, 21% from the three-point line, and 36% from the field, it just made for an altogether horrible game. And, I made the joke last year that, if you move Bud Walton Arena 3 inches, they would be terrible. It's just like anything outside of their norm at Bud Walton, they just can't play. Maybe practice them at the Hyper. Maybe practice them at Fayetteville High School, Bentonville High School, anywhere else to where they have to shoot in another gym. But there's got to be something going on, and Mike may have been right to bring in the sports psychiatrist and the psychologist to try to work with the mental aspect and makeup of these guys, because now this is taking on a bigger, it's taking on something bigger than itself, just the road woes, and now you've got to have it in the back of your mind if you're one of the players.
I agree with that, Mark. The shooting has typically been terrible on the road. To me, what's even more disappointing is defensively and effort-wise. At Bud Walton, you've got the crowd going. You're getting loose balls. You're forcing the issue. You're making the opponent uncomfortable. That type of energy just is not traveling with Arkansas on the road. I hear people talk about the style of play. I just can't go there simply because there are ways in which you can get the energy level going. Energy shouldn't be something that you just have to have a home crowd for. You should be mentally able to generate it on your own. We've seen people play up-tempo basketball and have success on the road. People play pressure defense and have success on the road. There's teams around the country who have and will continue to do it. So I really don't buy that as an excuse at all. Arkansas, effort-wise, they were disappointing. Mental mistakes were disappointing as well. And look, let's be honest. This opens up another door. I know it's early. We certainly don't want to overreact, but you had coming off last year's non-NCAA tournament appearance criticisms of Mike Anderson. Obviously, that's nothing but amplified to this point. Now, I do think it's too early to suggest anything in terms of he should be gotten rid of, but make no mistake about it. Losing to A&M in that fashion only dials up the heat on Mike Anderson, which was starting to turn up a little bit more. So that's just something we'll have to watch.
We'll talk a little bit about the Razorback basketball game, the outlook for the rest of the season. Now you've got, you had a tough one on the road, but relatively speaking tough, because the next two games what's really going to be tough. Number 10, Florida comes to town tomorrow, and then Wednesday, number 14, Kentucky in town. So you could conceivably be 0-3 before you even know what happened. And then you go back on the road at Georgia, who just beat Missouri.
On the
road.
road.
Then you take another road trip to Tennessee, who just beat LSU on the road. And then you've got Auburn and Missouri. And it's not looking as good as I wanted it to look early on. I expected to lose these two games to Florida and Kentucky anyway. But now that the Hogs lost to Texas A&M in the way that they did, man, it's changed some stuff for me. So I want to talk a little bit about that in the future, in the second half of the show, because we've got plenty of other things to look at. Made mention of Charlie Strong the other day being named the head coach at Texas. And we also pointed out that Bobby Petrino looked like he was going to go and be the next head coach, former head coach who's the next head coach at Louisville, and that came to pass. And now it looks like James Franklin is going to go to Penn State unless some of this controversy catches up to him before he goes.
Yeah, a lot going on. You start with James Franklin, of course. We knew before the year he had a situation where he had to put players off the team. Wasn't much said about it other than that. Now some things are coming to light about some possible sexual assault things that went on, and what did James Franklin have to do in terms of the fluidity of resolving that situation. Did he run some sort of an interference? We don't know, but obviously if you're Penn State, you have to be sensitive to something like that given what you've just been through with the whole Joe Paterno, Jerry Sandusky situation. But obviously, Mark, we know what Bobby Petrino, going back to Louisville, that struck several notes here in the state of Arkansas, understandably so.
I was upset.
And, a lot of people were. A lot of people were. And he's putting his staff back together. Coach Klinakis is back. Garrick McGee said, forget you, UAB. I'm going to go back and be a coordinator.
He said, I was the head coach at UAB, but that place sucks, and I want to go be the offensive coordinator at Louisville.
That just really should tell you about yourself, UAB. I mean, really. And look, it's not the first time we've heard this. I go back to when Mike Anderson was a basketball coach there. You heard several things about, trying to get adequate uniforms, trying to be able to travel. I mean, this is a Division I basketball program. We're talking about having these sort of issues. So it appears football has the same sort of issues. But Louisville going into the ACC, Petrino back at Louisville, he should be successful. We know he's had success. I think it may not take a lot of time, but I don't think it'll be quite as easy as it was in the Big East just because of a step up in competition. But I do think they'll be there. They'll be ready. $10 million buyout. Petrino was right about that in his press conference yesterday. He said, I get to retire here contractually, I'm told. I'll be retiring here because he knows nobody's coming to get him for $10 million. So, again, Louisville market, it's one of those things. It's been discussed all over the networks about, should they have done this? Did they sell out or what have you? Tom Jurich, the AD, met with Bobby Petrino extensively for nearly half a day. And they had some pretty rough words in terms of honesty. Jurich told Petrino, look, I didn't like what you did. I didn't like how you treated people. I was very mad when you up and left and went to the Atlanta Falcons. But, after talking to your wife and talking to people, you appeared to be a changed man, and you're the logical fit for the Louisville Cardinals.
Can you tell me why talking to his wife, who is going to directly benefit from him making $3-some million for the foreseeable future, is going to give you any indication of anything other than the fact that she knows she's going to be making bank the rest of her life if she just sticks it out? Obviously, they've had their issues. He cheated on her and got caught on the side of the road in Northwest Arkansas. Mm-hmm. Now, he's a scumbag, and you know it. Just go ahead and just own it. If all you want to do is win, and that's the only reason you're going to hire him, and he's still a good coach, don't go to his wife and ask if she believes that he's a changed man. Exactly. Yeah. What's she going to say? Well, I'm still with him, so either I'm an idiot or I think he's changed. That's just dumb. To me, the whole thing is it's prostitution.
First of all,
they just want to win, and that's fine. If you want to win, his job is tied to it, so win.
Hey, watch your volleyball teams at Louisville. You ought to be all right. Watch your Harley dealerships and your volleyball teams, and you ought to be good to go. I would imagine his hiring latitude will be monitored closely. I will say that. I think they will make sure they carefully examine who he does and does not hire.
Yeah.
I would think that would be a smart thing to do.
Aside from his staff, his coaching staff, he wouldn't have the ability to do any of that.
Yeah. I'm not talking about his coaching staff.
Just think about how easy it's going to be to negative recruit against that guy. Like, you're going to go play, and you can already see it. They're losing recruits left and right. A 4-star defensive end, defensive tackle, actually, I think, has decommitted. A wide receiver decommitted
from him,
from Louisville. That's crazy, and just. At least 4 or 5 players.
Look, moms and dads, look, we as fans, we see wins and losses, and we see hiring Bobby Petrino equates to victories, but, a lot of moms and dads, they're seeing some other sides of it. They have to look at, more than the things we look at, and, that's what's out there is out there. Yeah,
I see a few of them, at least, that have decided to decommit, and I can just tell you that if I were a coach coaching against him, I wouldn't even have to actually negative recruit against somebody. Now, I'm not one that would like to do that anyway, but when I would just give them the conversation of, are you sure you want to go play for that guy? What he's done, right? You know where he's been and what he's about. You could come over here and you've never heard anything like that from us. That would be an easy sales pitch. I don't know how he's going to get anybody. Now, maybe quarterbacks. But really, if you look at it, what has Bobby Petrino ever produced as a quarterback?
That's a good point.
Ryan Mallett, he's still sitting on the bench. Tyler Wilson can't stay on a team.
That's true.
That's literally it.
Brom had a little cup of coffee with Green Bay, I think, that's a good point. And again, we're talking about a step up in competition. You want to bring home a conference title, you got to go through the national champions. You got to go through the Clemson Tigers. Duke is a team to be reckoned with. A lot of improving teams, North Carolina as well in the ACC. So you got some things to navigate through.
He'll probably do a good job with wide receivers. He probably won't have too much trouble with running backs, seeing as how Niall Davis did pretty well.
Yeah.
He had some success. But, the wide receivers, I could also recruit against him with that and just be like, look, those guys were Arkansas guys. We're going to Arkansas, no matter who was the coach there. Greg Childs and Jarius Wright and Joe Adams. Really, Joe Adams is the only one who's done anything. Or Jarius Wright's the only one who's done anything.
Yeah.
But
and then defensively, there's
just no way. his past recruiting and his past success. Guys like Michael Bush will help him with running backs, and then Amobi Okoye, remember him?
Yeah,
he was super young and he played for Petrino at Louisville, but he was a defensive guy in Doomerville. But yeah, Petrino and defense, those are mutually exclusive. Yeah. They must have been really, really good for them to have had however many years of practice where they couldn't touch anybody on offense. Yeah, I'm not a Petrino fan anymore, and part of it, I'll just be honest, part of it is that I'm mad that he's not still here. You know, like when he was still here, I loved watching his offense, and I didn't like the way the defense was bad, and it didn't seem like there was any effort to make it not bad. But yeah, part of it was that he ended up getting fired that night. I was done with him. You know, I knew he'd done that Jeff Long felt like he did what he had to do when he fired him. So I'm all anti-Bobby now.
When I look back at the Bobby Petrino era at Arkansas, I think what made it great was one simple thing. What made it successful was he never lost a game he wasn't supposed to lose. Outside of that, there really wasn't much over the top. He just won every game he was supposed to do, which, to his credit, you look back at Houston Nutt, that was something at times he couldn't do. Although Nutt would win a game he wasn't supposed to win, he would throw in a stinker against a bad team. Bobby Petrino came in, won every game he wasn't supposed to win. You could maybe the first year against LSU, that may be an upset you might want to give his way. And, I mean, I guess technically the 2010 LSU game, although both teams were kind of even. Other than that, didn't really pull off any big Alabama wins or when LSU was really big time.
Yeah, well, either way, he's going to be back at Louisville, and we don't want to wish him anything, good, bad, or indifferent. Lane Kiffin interviewing for the offensive coordinator position at Alabama, and a couple other new. We'll talk NFL here in a little bit. The playoffs going on, the second week of the playoffs coming up, starting tomorrow. But Baseball Hall of Fame inductees, Greg Maddux, Tom Glavine, and the Big Hurt, Frank Thomas.
Yeah, those are the three headliners from it. The Big Hurt, one of the big power hitters, obviously from the 90s, somebody who's thought to have done it cleanly all the way through, not even linked to steroids or any performance-enhancing drugs. You have guys like a Mike Piazza who were left off, who was never seriously linked, but just there was a whisper one time about an acne issue that they thought may have been tied to something. Frank Thomas never had any of that, in spite of putting up good numbers. And then Greg Maddux, one of the best locators in the history of the game as far as locating pitches, one of the most cerebral pitchers we've ever seen, just big time. Tom Glavine as well, the lefty. Of course, they played together in Atlanta for many years. So a good Hall of Fame group. We'll always note the guys who were left off, Barry Bonds, Roger Clemens. Their percentage actually went down from last year.
They're never getting in.
It doesn't look like they're ever going to get voted in unless baseball and the Writers Association ultimately do a wholesale change on their criteria, and I don't see that.
No, that's kind of a shame, but at the same time, you probably shouldn't do steroids.
Do the crime, do the time.
Need to look real quickly at our Peters Family Living local sports look. Got some high school basketball taking place tonight. Russellville High School at Conway. That's a big deal there for the Cyclones and the Wampus Cats. Is a rivalry game. Clarksville at Alma. That's another big rivalry game in the 5A West. Pottsville at Mena. And there are several others that I'm going to go through right now. And I don't know that all these teams are going to play. I know these other ones are, but I don't know that everybody's going to play because you've got schools like Dover who are out of school today. They're not having the game tonight. But some other ones may be out of school and still having games, just like Clarksville. They're not in school today. Atkins is not playing at all. Well, actually, I think they are playing, but they were supposed to have Colors Day tonight at against Two Rivers, and they're not having Colors Day. They're going to move that to Danville, to the Danville game before they have their Colors Day. And then Danville is at Mansfield. Dardanelle is hosting Boonville. We mentioned Dover, and their game against Waldron is canceled. It was at Waldron. Hector is out of school today, and their game against Conway Christian I have no news on. Lamar is hosting Lavaca, and Two Rivers is at Atkins, as we mentioned. So local basketball going on tonight. Again, not sure about all these games because I hadn't heard back from some of their administrators to whether or not they're having the games tonight due to weather. So that's our Peters Family Living local sports look. When we come back, we'll look at the NFL playoffs.
Over 69 years of treating you like family, Peters Family Living's main goal is customer service. That is their promise to their customers. They offer in-house financing on furniture and appliances and a 30-day money-back guarantee. For a friendly, no-pressure atmosphere, visit Peters Family Living today at 201 North Arkansas Avenue, Russellville. Online at petersfamilyliving.com or call 479-968-2929.
Today, there are more than 20 brands of cars being sold in America. So to be noticed, Ford and Cogswell Motors have to go further than anyone thought we could. How does Ford stand out above the crowd? Not just with plug-in vehicles like the new 2013 Ford Fusion Energy that gets a projected 100 miles per gallon equivalent, but also with a line of gas vehicles equipped with the innovative EcoBoost engines combining power and efficiency, plus a full measure of technologically advanced features. We invite you to stop into Cogswell Motors today. We go further than anyone thought we could, so that you can go further too.
RiverValleyLeader.com is the #1 local source for instant news in the River Valley, offering HD video and live streaming along with top-notch coverage of all the news and events around the area. The River Valley Leader is the only place to go for all the information you need. Check out the newest local business featured on the site, as well as police news and coverage from important meetings, along with the personal stories, all at one convenient click. Check out RiverValleyLeader.com.
If you didn't count on KARK4 today this morning,
here's what you missed.
Updated news.
Police continue searching for suspects after a home intrusion overnight.
Developing stories.
It's another piece of presidential history turning up here in Arkansas.
And weather and traffic on the 4s.
Friday night, Saturday morning will bring us our next chance rain.
Every 10 minutes.
Around the clock.
Making your day easier.
So rise and shine and count on.
Count on.
Count on. KRK4 today.
Hi folks, Richard Roberts with Cogswell Motors in Russellville. You know, we've been in business since 1949. A dealership doesn't stay in business that long under the same ownership unless you're doing something right, and that's taking care of customers. We have the largest selection of new Ford, Lincoln, Mazda, and pre-owned vehicles in the River Valley. So if you want the most for your trade, the best interest rate on financing, and the best price on a new or pre-owned automobile, come to Russellville and see us. We're at 1900 East Main, or visit us on the web at cogswellmotors.com.
Welcome back in on a Friday Sports Blitz. A lot of stuff left to cover here. Mark Freeman, Weldon Braxton, and Maddie Lassiter inside the Cogswell Motors Studios. Mentioned Charlie Strong to Texas, and I made this point on Wednesday at the end of the show that there was something that bothered me about one of the boosters, a billionaire booster, former owner of the Minnesota Vikings, and obviously huge Texas alum, Red McCombs, came out and said that Charlie Strong being hired by Texas was, quote, a kick in the face. I thought, and it immediately jumped off the page when I read that, what else could he possibly mean other than the fact that Charlie Strong's a black man? It seemed to me to be a very racist statement, the way he said that, because he said he could be a position coach or a coordinator, but to be the head coach here, it's just like he was saying he was a second-class citizen. He wasn't good enough to be the Texas head coach. I thought it was extremely unprofessional from a billionaire. A guy knows how to make money, guy knows how to be successful in life, and he has it's not like he said it by accident, Weldon. To me, I thought it was inappropriate. He's come out since and apologized for it, and Charlie Strong took the high road and said, obviously he knows he needs the billionaires in his pocket, but literally, but he wants to include and unify the Texas fan base, and to have guys like McCombs on his side is a good deal. So he's basically said, come be a part of the program and have a say, and they're trying to smooth it over.
Yeah, look, when I heard the comments, when he went on radio and said Charlie Strong, maybe could be a coordinator, but probably more so a position coach, and it was a slap in the face and all of that stuff, it did come across as a racist statement. That's just the way, not saying that Red is racist, not saying that his intentions were racist, but you could have elocuted that so much better.
You could have said it 100 different ways.
Yes, so much better. That's the reason why I think he's open to criticism. I mean, look, he could have said, well, Charlie Strong's did a good job at Louisville, but we could have had a John Gruden or we could have had a Jim Harbaugh or somebody like that, or Charlie Strong he's not a strong enough name for what I think we should have at Texas. Something of that along those lines. But he left all of that out and basically told Charlie Strong, look, forget about what you did. I mean, whatever. You're just not somebody I want at Texas.
Kick in the face.
Kick in the face. I mean, and look, you hear we have the whole situation around it. We know Red's a Texan. We know he's old. We
know he's white.
I mean, so you have all that in play as well. It all kind of works together. Look. Now, I think there is a chance that Red didn't know much about Charlie Strong whatsoever. There is that possibility that because he's older. He knows Nick Saban. He knows John Gruden. He knows the heavy hitters in the coaching profession. That Charlie Strong just wasn't a name he was really aware of. You and I and sports fans across the country, younger ones and us who stay on top of it on a daily basis, we understand Charlie Strong. We understand a lot more obscure names than Charlie Strong. But at the same time, Red's a little bit different. So you could say he didn't know Charlie Strong. That's what it was. It came off as so dismissive. Charlie Strong, while he may not have been Texas' A-list candidate, can coach football. He's no slouch whatsoever, and to just dismiss him altogether makes it feel like, well, maybe if it were a white coach at 37 and 15 had done what he had done at Louisville, maybe he wouldn't have dismissed him. That's the way it came off. Again, I know a lot of people complain about people using the race card and what have you, and certainly so. It's used way too often. But at the same time, you can't ignore how dismissive he came across with Charlie Strong.
Yeah, I was frustrated with the way he said that, and it may have just been him misspeaking. But when you say something like a kick in the face, that just to me screams inappropriate. It's just like like you said, he may have just heard Charlie Strong or seen a list of names and thought, man, those are some good names. And then when they pick Charlie Strong, he's thinking, all right, and then he sees him. He's like, whoa, that's not what I thought it was going to be. So it just seems to me like that it's just inappropriate.
That's kind of like the in-laws, like when when you hear your son or daughter's like, I'm bringing my mate home, to meet you guys. Oh, we're so excited. That door opens up. You like, what in the world?
What's the movie with Ashton Kutcher? It's
Bernie Mackey. I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
Oh, that cracks me up.
It's one of those. It's like, little Suzanne, can we talk to you in the living room? Dominique, help yourself to something over there. We'll be right back.
Oh, Lordy, we can do this. Okay, so you guys just get over it. Also, out of college football the other day, Johnny Manziel going pro. Trey Mason going to join him from Auburn. So looks like the SEC is going to be as strong as it always is. But to have two of the better players in the conference gone, two guys that were in the Heisman Trophy ceremony, when not even counting McCarron, who's also going to be gone. That's three SEC players from the Heisman Trophy ceremony gone right there. So that's going to be good for Arkansas. But Hogs, remember, will open up with Auburn next year in the season opener. So it's going to be a tough season once again for the Hogs. But Johnny Manziel going to the NFL, where do you think he'll end up?
I still think he'll be a top 5 pick. There's actually a prop bet out now that it's at 4.5. You can take the over/under on 4.5. I think somebody will take him in the top 5 because remember, we have these quarterbacks and players slotted now. The draft process is a huge deal, especially quarterbacks. We don't see any position skyrocket up a draft board the way we see quarterbacks do during this pre-draft process period. I mean, yeah, running back or somebody can run a 40 time that shoots them up like a Nile Davis or something, but when these quarterbacks sit down with these GMs and they start talking X's and O's and they start speaking well and clearly and intelligent and all that stuff, and teams are desperate to like a quarterback anyway, that just puts them over the top. So I think when all this settles down, we know Johnny can put on a good smile and charm, and I know he's intelligent. He can do things on the board football-wise, and I think when all that's said and done, he'll find himself in the top 5.
I hope he has a pretty good career, but I'm looking forward to seeing him as an analyst. If he can be, I don't want him to be so buttoned up like he has been, so professional. I'd like to see him let loose a little bit and let his personality out a little bit, because then I think he'd be a pretty good analyst. He does a good job every time he gets in front of the cameras. It's like he can turn it on, but then he goes and does his own thing, and then it's a different story. So we do want to wish him the best of luck. I'm looking forward to the NFL draft. It's going to be fun to see what direction the Houston Texans go, because it'll all kind of hinge on that. Because if the Houston Texans want a quarterback and they can't get a Ryan Mallett, which was a topic of conversation we had the other day, if they went that route and they traded for Ryan Mallett, they may trade a 3rd or 4th round pick or whatever they end up having to give up if they wanted to get him, and then go get a Jadeveon Clowney or somebody like that early on in the draft. Well, then you've got Johnny Manziel, you've got Teddy Bridgewater, you've got other teams that are going to need a quarterback. So the NFL draft would be a whole lot of fun. A lot of times those things figure themselves out a couple days before the draft, when teams will move around just to try to angle for where they want. So we'll see how that comes down the stretch here in the next, I guess, 3 months before the draft actually takes place. Also, for us Cowboys fans, news out of the NFC East, as the Washington Redskins have hired Jay Gruden, not John, but Jay Gruden, the offensive coordinator from the Cincinnati Bengals, to be their new head coach. What do you think about that hire?
I think it's a good move. I think Jay Gruden's a really good offensive mind. I looked at what he did in Cincinnati with some of those teams. I thought his play calling was good, the way he used Giovanni Bernard effectively. You have Ben Jarvis Green Ellis, sort of the hammer, Bernard more the dynamic player. I thought A.J. Green was used effectively. Andy Dalton was questionable at times, but I think Jay Gruden's a creative offensive mind, arena football background. I think he'll work well with RG3. They'll complement each other. It's not a huge hire in terms of a superstar name. Obviously, the last name Gruden, but Jay himself, not a superstar. But I think you don't always need a superstar. Sometimes you just need good chemistry. I think that's what they have.
Last few big-name coaches at Washington haven't turned out too well.
Yeah.
All right, well, we lied. We said we were going to get to the NFL playoffs before the break, but we're going to have to wait till after the break because we have to do it justice. We have to talk a little bit about each one of these games. The Saturday early game, New Orleans at Seattle. That's going to be a fun one there. Maybe they'll cause another earthquake or something. And then the late game, Indianapolis at New England. For the past decade, that game right there has meant something. Now, it's going to be a little different this year. A lot of people are already picking the Colts to upset the New England Patriots. And then Sunday, San Francisco at Carolina and San Diego at Denver. San Diego. A lot of people picking the
Supercharged
San Diego as the winners of that one. So we'll see how those games are going to go according to us right after this break.
Over 69 years of treating you like family, Peters Family Living's main goal is customer service. That is their promise to their customers. They offer in-house financing on furniture and appliances and a 30-day money-back guarantee. For a friendly, no-pressure atmosphere, visit Peters Family Living today at 201 North Arkansas Avenue, Russellville. Online at petersfamilyliving.com or call 479-968-2929.
Today, there are more than 20 brands of cars being sold in America. So to be noticed, Ford and Cogswell Motors have to go further than anyone thought we could. How does Ford stand out above the crowd? Not just with plug-in vehicles like the new 2013 Ford Fusion Energy that gets a projected 100 miles per gallon equivalent, but also with a line of gas vehicles equipped with the innovative EcoBoost engines combining power and efficiency, plus a full measure of technologically advanced features. We invite you to stop into Cogswell Motors today. We go further than anyone thought we could, so that you can go further too.
RiverValleyLeader.com is the #1 local source for instant news in the River Valley, offering HD video and live streaming along with top-notch coverage of all the news and events around the area. The River Valley Leader is the only place to go for all the information you need. Check out the newest local business featured on the site, as well as police news and coverage from important meetings, along with the personal stories, all at one convenient click. Check out rivervalleyleader.com.
If you didn't count on KARK4 today this morning,
Here's what you missed.
updated news,
Police continue searching for suspects after a home intrusion overnight.
developing stories,
It's another piece of presidential history turning up here in Arkansas.
and weather and traffic on the force.
Friday night, Saturday morning will bring us our next chance rain.
Every 10 minutes.
Around the clock.
Making your day easier.
So rise and shine and count on.
Count on.
KRK4 today.
Hi folks, Richard Roberts with Cogswell Motors in Russellville. You know, we've been in business since 1949. A dealership doesn't stay in business that long under the same ownership unless you're doing something right, and that's taking care of customers. We have the largest selection of new Ford, Lincoln, Mazda, and pre-owned vehicles in the River Valley. So if you want the most for your trade, the best interest rate on financing, and the best price on a new or pre-owned automobile, come to Russellville and see us. We're at 1900 East Main, or visit us on the web at cogswellmotors.com.
Half a show down, half a show left. Friday edition of the Sports Blitz. Thank you for joining us. I'm going to be in Alma tonight. What are you doing tonight?
I'm going to be recruiting tonight.
Going to be hardcore recruiting, and he means the real stuff, not the not that Madden or not. Well, I guess you wouldn't recruit on Madden, not that NCAA stuff.
No, but I will tell you this: that is not very far off from the real thing. I've learned that.
I like it. Well, I'm going to be watching the Clarksville Panthers and the Alma Airedales tonight. It's a big rivalry game there in the Palace. So I'm looking forward to that. Maybe some of my message board friends can come find me at Alma and we can talk it out. Who knows? We'll see how it goes. But looking forward to a good night in sports. Looking forward to a good weekend in sports as I'll get to watch some 7th grade boys basketball Saturday morning, and then I'll come home, and at 3:35 you're going to get the kickoff to New Orleans and Seattle. I'm not sure whether or not New Orleans can handle the atmosphere that's going to be there at Seattle. They said they were playing some music as loud as they could, busted a few speakers trying to prepare for what they're going to get in Seattle. I still think it pales in comparison to what's going to happen, but New Orleans got a road win last week, so they've got at least a shot. We'll see how they acquit themselves. I'm still going with Seattle close.
Yeah, I think New Orleans is going to show up first of all. So anybody who thinks it'll be a 34-7 game again, I can't go with anybody on that. Once you've played there, you've got fresh experience playing in that stadium with the noise. I think it'll make you better. I think it'll help you play better than you did the first time around. So I think it will be a closer game. The only chance New Orleans has in this game, to me, it's all going to fall on Rob Ryan's defense. I don't think you can expect Drew Brees to put up 30 points. I just don't see that happening. You need Rob Ryan's opportunistic, hellacious defense to force Russell Wilson into some mistakes, maybe even score a touchdown. Worst case scenario, give Drew Brees some short fields to work on. You cannot expect Drew Brees to have to drive 80 yards every time to score. If they can force Russell Wilson into some things, I think New Orleans has a chance. I'm going to go ahead and give Seattle a close edge, though, because I think Russell Wilson will play well enough.
Yeah, it's, to me, I said last week that I thought New Orleans could score enough. They barely scored enough points. And going to Seattle, I could see this being really only two ways. I could see it being a Seattle blowout where they just killed New Orleans and just beat them down, or I could see it being a close Seattle win. I don't think I don't see any way in which the New Orleans Saints win this game. I go back several years to the hurricane. I keep wanting to call it a hurricane game. It's an earthquake game. And they registered on the Richter scale. Good Lord. Marshawn Lynch went beast mode. You've seen the touchdown that really started beast mode when he just runs over the entire team, shoves one guy to the ground, and ends up running into the end zone, diving backwards into the end zone. And it was an incredible play. That Seattle team wasn't even that good. And New Orleans, I think, was it was one of those crazy things where the team with more wins ends up on the road, and New Orleans had to go to Seattle, and they just got beat. And since then, the Seattle team has gone nowhere but up. New Orleans, has sort of held pat, and been pretty good, but I don't see New Orleans surviving this game. I could be crazy. I was last week when I picked the Bengals to beat the San Diego Chargers, but I've got Seattle.
Would you give the points, 8 points? Would you take Seattle and give the points?
See, that's where it would be more tough.
Yeah.
Because, like I said, I could see it being one or the other. I don't know. 8 points is these guys in Vegas know what they're doing.
They do.
That's a very good line to me. I would probably lean more toward taking the points, but
do you take New Orleans in the
taking
points?
New Orleans in the points because 8 points is a lot. They could lose by a touchdown and still win.
Yeah.
So. I don't know. That's a tough one for me. Then that's why Vegas makes a lot of money and I don't bet. The late game Saturday, you've got 7:15 kick between Indianapolis and New England in Foxborough. A lot of people I've seen, Ron Jaworski picked Indianapolis to beat New England on the road. I do think that this New England team is sort of ripe for the picking. I want to see Denver beat San Diego, and we'll get to that game in a minute, and New England beat Indianapolis just so Denver can exercise some demons and win that game to send them to the Super Bowl. That's my dream. But this game, they'd have to win to get there. In Indianapolis, despite having no Reggie Wayne, despite having Trent Richardson fumbling the ball every time he steps out there, and despite having a defense that gave up a ton of points to Kansas City, has found ways to win. With that being said, they gave up a ton of points to Kansas City. And if they can give up a ton of points to Kansas City, Tom Brady can pretty much just name his score. I think New England wins. Even if it's a high-scoring game, New England wins.
Yeah, look, the Indianapolis coach, you just don't know which team is going to show up. We've talked about it. They've won against the Denver Broncos. They've won against the Seattle Seahawks. They've won at the San Francisco 49ers. They've also lost by 30 points to Arizona. They lost by 30 points at home to the Rams. You just don't know what Colts team is going to show up. You don't know if Andrew Luck's going to look like a future Hall of Famer or if he's going to throw 3 or 4 interceptions. And you look at a game like this where I agree Tom Brady's going to be able to score some points. If Andrew Luck has another 2-3 interception first half, I don't think they'll just climb out of it so easily the way they did against the Chiefs. The Colts' defense is interesting. They're a defense that they're not great at consistently getting stops, so you can score on them a lot, but they can be very opportunistic and they can turn you over. So I think they're going to try to force some fumbles. They're going to be stripping at guys like Ridley. They're going to try to jump balls of Brady. They're going to try to get some turnovers, knowing they can't get true stops. If they can force those turnovers, some of these upset picks may be right. I don't see it. I got Tom Brady going to the AFC Championship game. 7.5-point favorite. I don't know about that one. I would take the Colts and the points, but either way, I'm taking New England to win straight up.
I'm the same way. Third game is Sunday, 1 o'clock. It'll be the I called it the noon kick on Wednesday, but it's a 1:05 kick, if I'm not mistaken. Now, let me go look, because I wrote these down.
Noon Pacific.
Is it noon Pacific?
Yeah.
The game's in Carolina.
But I'm just looking at Pacific. Yeah, it's in Carolina, but technically noon Pacific.
I'm trying to look here. Yeah, well, this says Sunday. No, it's a 12:05 game because I wrote it down wrong. Yeah, because
you're right. 12 p.m. not Pacific, so it's 12 Eastern. So
12 Eastern, and I figured when I looked at that, I called it the noon game, and I thought I was right. So San Francisco at Carolina is the noon game on Sunday. To me, it's the most interesting game because these two teams, smash mouth, very similar teams, and I look for a very, very good game. Don't know how it's going to happen. But on the road at Carolina, I've got the San Francisco 49ers winning the game. Part of it is because, as we've talked about all season long, talent-wise, they've just got a wealth of talent defensively, coming around offensively a little bit. It's like they're opening up the playbook for Colin Kaepernick a little bit at the end of the season and into the playoffs. I've just somehow, when you put Colin Kaepernick and Cam Newton up against one another, I trust Colin Kaepernick that much more. And I wouldn't be surprised if Carolina won the game, especially seeing as how it's at home. But I'm going to go with San Francisco close.
Yeah, this is, to me, I agree with you, Mark. This is the most interesting game for a number of reasons. First of all, a lot of people. I mean, you're included. I may be included. I'll tell you here in a second. A lot of people sort of picking the San Francisco 49ers, forgetting about, not forgetting, but just, ignoring the fact that Carolina's at home. They're number 2 seed. They had a great season, all this stuff, picking the 49ers to win. Carolina's going to have a chip on their shoulder, no question about it. That defense is for real. But here's the thing about it. Steve Smith is not going to be anywhere near 100% if he plays. We do know that. Here's a Carolina offense who, in terms of explosive plays, they're already limited. Now you're going to tell me Steve Smith's not going to be 100%? That is a problem because this Carolina offense, they're one who, if they're clicking in the running game, they can be very tough to deal with, but they're also one of those teams that could have like 2 or 3 and outs, and the crowd starts booing because they can't get anything going, and the defense is holding off Kaepernick and company, but the offense won't quite help them out, and then eventually the defense can't hold off Kaepernick enough, and then the 49ers score about 20 points, and the game ends somewhere along the lines of a 20-14 type game, and that's just what I see. The Carolina defense won't be able to cover up the offense enough against the 49ers, but I do think it'll be a physical game.
A very physical game, very physical defensive battle. Cam Newton, like I said, he's a playmaker, man. He just seems to be right there. But I don't know. I just don't know that I trust him as much as I would Colin Kaepernick. And Colin Kaepernick's what I've heard some stat about him in career rushing yards record for something, playoff record for rushing yards or something
for a quarterback.
He's just, and last year in the Super Bowl set the all-time rushing record for a quarterback in the Super Bowl. Of course, nobody else really runs it like him, so he brings an element with his legs that nobody else really has ever done from the quarterback position in the NFL as far as now there have been fast guys. Michael Vick could probably outrun him straight line speed, but just the attack that San Francisco employs with him or has in the past, it seems like they're sort of coming back to that. It makes for an interesting NFC Championship game if my teams that I've predicted win, and I've got San Francisco, Seattle in Seattle for the NFC Championship. After Seattle had already put a whipping on San Francisco earlier on this year there in Seattle, so I'm hoping that I'm right there and that we get to see that rematch. Yeah,
I'm hoping we are too. Although San Francisco, I just don't know if they'll be able to climb that hurdle. I mean, I'm a big 49ers guy in terms of how their team is built, but Seattle, for some reason, they got it going on up there at Quest Field, especially against San Francisco. Not only they blow them out in that game you talked about, you go back to last year when they played up in Seattle, it was 40-something to 13 or something. It just was not good. It wasn't good.
I'm like I said, I'm going to hope that New Orleans beats Seattle this week because somebody's got to go up there and beat the Seahawks in their home field.
Somebody go get the Cardinals back in here.
Exactly. That's going to be a tough test. Finally, 3:30 Sunday, San Diego at Denver. Seen people like I mentioned, Ron Jaworski pick. He picked Indianapolis, New England. I've seen a lot of people pick San Diego to beat Denver. It's Peyton Manning is what did I say it was 1-9 in his last 3-9 in his last some odd playoff games. Just not been 9-11. I'm sorry, 9-11 in his playoff career. That's what it is. Under 500 for a guy who he's going to be the MVP again this year, and it'll be what 4 or 5 MVPs for Peyton Manning in his career. Just an incredible career for Peyton Manning, and the questions still remain: is he a playoff quarterback? Can he win in the big time? He's got the 1 Super Bowl. How many more should he, quote unquote, have? Man, it's to me a scary, scary game for Denver. I think they're going to pull it out. They already lost one in Denver to San Diego. I just don't see how the all-time scoring leaders, there's never been a team score more points than the Denver Broncos scored this year, are going to lose a game at home in the playoffs to a team that they see coming from a mile away. After a bye, I know it's just been the way it is for Peyton Manning, even going back to his Colts days. They find ways, to screw it up. But at the end of the day, I don't know how it's going to happen, but I've got Denver winning and moving on to the AFC Championship game.
Yeah, this is something we've talked, Mark, on Wednesday about, Peyton Manning versus hot teams who are coming off playoff victories while he's coming off of a bye week and how that's been dangerous. They were losing to the Pittsburgh Steelers, losing to the Chargers, losing to the Jets, losing to the Patriots. I mean, they've lost to a number of hot teams, Baltimore last year even. But you're right. You did make a good point. They do see them coming a mile away. They know all the talk. They know people are saying the Chargers are dangerous. They know people are looking at the Chargers as a very trendy upset pick. And I think that's why Denver is going to be ready in this game. This comes down to one thing for me, Mark, the San Diego running game. Because, again, Denver only beat them by one possession in San Diego. And then obviously we know San Diego won in Denver. The key for San Diego and what they've been able to do is they've been able to kill the clock. Ryan Matthews and company rushing for 100-something yards with Ronnie Brown, Danny Woodhead even in the mix. They have kept the ball away from Peyton Manning by grinding on him. And that's the tough thing about it, because we can blame Peyton for interceptions and coming up small in moments, but not a whole lot he can do when he's not on the field. So it's up to that very and highly suspect Denver defense to do something about it, and Peyton can't control that. I'm going to still pick the Denver Broncos. It'll be some points, but I don't think it'll be as many as people think. I'm going to go with the Broncos. 9 points. I'd probably take San Diego in those points, but I'll take Denver to win.
9 points it's about right. I would probably, and this is going to sound crazy, I would probably take Denver, because I feel like even with the points, given the 9, because this is one of those games where Denver has got to win, and they know that this is Peyton Manning's legacy on the line here. And you have to look back at the end of this year, and Peyton Manning has a chance to do some very, very special things for his Hall of Fame legacy. And I know he doesn't necessarily think about those things, but I can tell you that he is as focused as he's ever been I say that like I've been in the room with him. But, just knowing the type of person that he is, the preparation that he's putting in, he's going to be so locked in on Sunday that, I would be shocked.
You better go help Jack Del Rio sit in those defensive meetings too.
I would be shocked I would be absolutely shocked if he doesn't come out and play extremely well on Sunday and get the win there. So I'll go Denver, Seattle, New England, San Francisco to win on Sunday. Did we pick the same teams?
I think we're on the same page this week.
Sports Blitz picks right here. Let's hit a break. When we come back, we're going to look at the new defensive line coach for the Arkansas Razorbacks, Rory Segrest, and we'll look at a little bit of recruiting Hogs basketball. I want to talk about that as little as absolutely possible today. And then we'll deal with our CrossFit Russellville poll question of the day. Which coach will win a national title at his current school first? Petrino at Louisville, Bielema at Arkansas. Your answers right after this.
Over 69 years of treating you like family, Peters Family Living's main goal is customer service. That is their promise to their customers. They offer in-house financing on furniture and appliances and a 30-day money-back guarantee. For a friendly, no-pressure atmosphere, visit Peters Family Living today at 201 North Arkansas Avenue, Russellville. Online at petersfamilyliving.com or call 479-968-2929.
Today, there are more than 20 brands of cars being sold in America. So to be noticed, Ford and Cogswell Motors have to go further than anyone thought we could. How does Ford stand out above the crowd? Not just with plug-in vehicles like the new 2013 Ford Fusion Energy that gets a projected 100 miles per gallon equivalent, but also with a line of gas vehicles equipped with the innovative EcoBoost engines combining power and efficiency, plus a full measure of technologically advanced features. We invite you to stop into Cogswell Motors today. We go further than anyone thought we could, so that you can go further too.
RiverValleyLeader.com is the #1 local source for instant news in the River Valley, offering HD video and live streaming along with top-notch coverage of all the news and events around the area. The River Valley Leader is the only place to go for all the information you need. Check out the newest local business featured on the site, as well as police news and coverage from important meetings, along with the personal stories, all at one convenient click. Check out rivervalleyleader.com.
If you didn't count on KARK4 Today this morning,
Here's what you missed.
updated news,
Police continue searching for suspects after a home intrusion overnight.
developing stories,
There's another piece of presidential history turning up here in Arkansas.
and weather and traffic on the force.
Friday night, Saturday morning will bring us our next chance rain.
Every 10 minutes.
Around the clock.
Making your day easier.
So rise and shine and count on.
Count on.
Count on KRK4 Today.
Hi folks, Richard Roberts with Cogswell Motors in Russellville. You know, we've been in business since 1949. A dealership doesn't stay in business that long under the same ownership unless you're doing something right, and that's taking care of customers. We have the largest selection of new Ford, Lincoln, Mazda, and pre-owned vehicles in the River Valley. So if you want the most for your trade, the best interest rate on financing, and the best price on a new or pre-owned automobile, come to Russellville and see us. We're at 1900 East Main, or visit us on the web at cogswellmotors.com.
Don't know if you've heard by now, but the Arkansas Razorbacks have hired longtime American Idol host Ryan Seacrest as defensive line coach, and
That's right, Mark. They have Ryan Seacrest. We started the Kardashian show. He's hosted Rory Seacrest. Okay, we got the
It's
wrong
not
guy.
Ryan Seacrest?
No, because I was looking at his credentials. I saw he started the Kardashian show on E! Network, and that was Ryan Seacrest. Arkansas has hired Rory Seacrest.
Rory Seacrest.
Yeah, that's the
well,
guy.
that sounds like a little better hire, I guess. I don't know. It's a little.
I don't know. Ryan Seacrest, he's the man.
So what do we know about? Well, I mean, Ryan Seacrest. I mean, think about the recruiting potential, especially for female athletes at the University of Arkansas.
I was going to say, for the football team, I don't know if I want to recruit a lot of Ryan Seacrest fans. But, yeah, on a serious note.
What do we know about Rory Seacrest?
Rory Seacrest, spelled Segrest, is the new defensive line coach and specialist for the Arkansas Razorbacks. This is a job that a lot of Razorback fans were waiting to see fill. Charlie Partridge, of course, left to take the head coaching job at Florida Atlantic University. Segrest comes from Samford University. No, not Stanford. We're talking about FCS Samford University, where he did coach special teams and with the defensive line. So, he's a guy, Mark, who has some experience. Coach Bielema noticed him when Arkansas prepared for their game against Samford, liked some things he saw on special teams. Again, did work with the defensive line as well. Had one of the better defensive fronts in FCS. Samford, one of the more competitive teams in that classification. Segrest also spent some time with the Philadelphia Eagles under Andy Reid. We know the successful tenure he had there. And so, look, I think there's a lot of upside to this hire. Is it a huge name? But, I mean, really, how many huge defensive line hires can you make? I mean, we know Ed Orgeron's name floated around a while. That
wasn't going to happen.
Yeah, I mean, that would have been what you would call a big name. But other than that, how many qualified defensive line coaches do you know? I mean, here's a guy who, when you're evaluating him, Mark, you just want him to be able to fit in, recruit, coach his position well, and complement the staff. And it looks like he'll be able to do that.
Maybe he'll be able to swing some big recruits Arkansas's way with the fact that he's been in the NFL and he knows what it takes to get there. That's the way I'd go if I were him. Hogs fall to 11-3 in basketball with a terrible 69-53 performance. Just lost on the road when they were a favorite to win. Just a frustrating thing for Hog basketball fans, as we mentioned earlier. But they take on Florida tomorrow at a noon tip there at Bud Walton Arena. If you can get to the game, get up the hill, you might as well get up there and watch them at Bud Walton, where it will look like a completely different team. We got to deal with today's CrossFit Russellville poll question, though. I think it's something we can talk today and future. Almost said future times, future shows about, because I think it's a deep question. I came up with it myself. CrossFit Russellville poll question: which coach will win a national title at his current school first? Petrino at Louisville or Bielema at Arkansas? Ryan Martin said Louisville is better than us right now, and they play in a weaker conference, so it has to be them. They are in the ACC, so now that they're moving, so that's going to be a tougher than it was. But national title, he'd have to get himself into a playoff and then win 2 games. It's getting a little harder than it was. Corey Williams says Louisville will have a better shot, and I'd bet Petrino gets into the playoffs at some point. John Fletcher, I don't see either ever winning a title, but Louisville should have success with Petrino fairly quickly. Garrett Hill says Petrino, he's a great coach. He knows how to win games and already has good talent. They're waiting on him. And John Thomas Price said, I'm a fan of Petrino and a fan of Arkansas. Neither will win one. Louisville has a better shot just because of strength of schedule. But now if we hired John Madden, we would definitely win some Sega Genesis games. So the second half of his comment just went a little downhill there as he moves on to Sega Genesis. I am going to shock you with this one because I knew everybody would go Petrino. I go Bielema would have a better shot of winning the national championship. And the reason is Bobby Petrino does not care about defense. And with that being said, you're not going to win 2 games in a row in a playoff when you don't care to stop anybody. You're going to face an Alabama or you're going to face a Ohio State who, and I'm not saying Ohio State is the greatest, but there will be a team somewhere along a 14 playoff that will want to play a little defense, and then if you can't stop them, you're going to get beat. Now, he won't care to lose 51-49, but he will lose, and I think Bobby Petrino is not building the team the right way when Bielema, I believe, will build a team in the right way to have a chance to compete. I'm not saying he's going to win a championship, but he's going to have a chance to compete for a championship because he's going to build a team solid from the lines out on both sides, try to stop people, try to score, and be offensively adept. But I just see that Brett Bielema's building a franchise team better than Bobby Petrino will.
I'm very proud of you. Give you a hand.
I thought you'd disagree.
No, I'm giving you a hand. Look, here's why. Brett Bielema, he's at Arkansas and they're struggling right now. I don't think the poll question was, who's in a better situation right now. Nope. Obviously, Louisville, with Charlie Strong left behind, obviously, they're in good shape. Charlie Strong had been there a few years. Brett Bielema just finished year 1. Look, Brett Bielema is building something that will last. He even said that during the year. It's not put together yet, but he just got there. His vision, when it's all said and done, is to be able to be balanced on offense, be able to have an effective passer to go along with a physical running game and a very solid defense. That is not the vision of Bobby Petrino. Even when he does get everything he wants in place and situated, it won't be there. He had everything in place his year 4, year 5 at Arkansas, or year 3 and 4, I should say, at Arkansas, and we saw what it looked like. A prolific offense that could score points and really put the heat on teams that were as good or worse than his. But when it came time to facing big-time defense on a regular basis, his offenses couldn't quite do enough, and his defenses weren't there to supplement what needed to be done. So ultimately, he was in that 10-win neighborhood. Yeah, and look, in college sports, winning 10 games is a very great thing to do. Doesn't get you much in the pros, but when you have a successful record without winning championships, you look good as a college coach, and that's why Bobby Petrino has looked good. I don't think he can win a national championship. First of all, it's going to be tough to get to a 4-team playoff because if he does have that weaker schedule, as people talked about, 4-team playoff won't let him in. And if he does play a tough schedule, if he gets a Florida State or Clemson, those teams on the schedule, I don't think he'll be able to beat them consistently enough to get into the playoff. And let's say if he does, he's not going to beat 1 or 2 SEC teams. So I don't give Bobby Petrino a chance to win a national title. He may win 10 games. He may go to a big bowl game, and that counts for something in college football. But overall, I don't think he's going to do it. I'm picking Bielema.
I think you and I and Brad both, all three, sort of had the same thought about this because the other guys that answered, I think they misunderstood what I was saying in the question. I wasn't asking who's a better coach or who's in the better situation. I'm asking who's got a better shot, who's going to have a better chance of winning a championship. Brad said neither. Arkansas will never have its crap together enough to win it, and Bobby Petrino will never be top dog in the ACC because of his lack of care for defense. I I think that and the fact that I'm going to root for Bobby Petrino to lose every game for the rest of his career is going to be why I would vote for Brett Bielema, because I do believe in the process that he's going with as far as, wanting to build a defense, wanting to stop people, and also wanting to be able to consistently run the ball. And really, I think if Jim Chaney has his way and he's able to put some balance to it, bring some balance to the force, so to speak. Yeah, that's a Star Wars reference there. Then I think that Arkansas will be in good shape, and I think that they'll be built the right way, something that can last and something that we can all appreciate come down the next 4 or 5 years. So, see, the thing is, though, it's just not a one-day turnaround. As much as I'd like for it to be, as much as you'd like for it to be, Bobby Petrino could plug in some guys, fling it around a little bit, put some points on the board, and like you said, just win the games they're supposed to win. Really, there was one game this year that Arkansas should have won that they didn't. The Rutgers game, they should have won and they didn't. The Mississippi State game, yes, you can argue they should have won that game and they didn't, but it was an SEC game against your first year as a coach, completely new system. I can understand not finding a way to win that game. Could have beaten LSU, and that's frustrating. I understand. I was frustrated just as much as the next fan, but at the end of the day, he pretty much did what Bobby Petrino did that first year, with the exception of beating of LSU, which Arkansas always seems to play pretty well against LSU.
Yeah.
So.
I mean, let's look. I'm not trying to take away what Bobby Petrino did at Arkansas, but look, there were a lot of positive breaks for Arkansas. You look at the Mississippi State game in 2010. Was Jericho Nelson, dudes running in for a touchdown to win the game. Jericho Nelson makes a form tackle, knocks his helmet, knocks the ball out the back of the end zone. Arkansas wins that game. Was it Zach Stacy or was about to run the ball in for Vanderbilt? That ball gets fumbled out. And Arkansas wins that game. So Arkansas has caught some breaks in the Petrino era where they could have very easily
They could have lost his first 2 games. Western Illinois and
for Western Illinois,
Louisiana Monroe or somebody, whoever it was, where Arkansas needed pretty much, I don't want to say miracle, but they needed some really fortunate and fortuitous bounces to go their way in those games, or they lose 2 of his first games as head coach. So, yeah, he had some good luck go his way, and nobody deserves it less. So, I'm hoping that Arkansas, and I know we've got about a month about 3 weeks between now and the time the signing day comes. I'm just hoping that this team can be built the right way to put the guys in position to succeed. I think, and I believe that if the staff stays together, and hearing that Randy Shannon turns down Louisville possibly to go be his defensive coordinator and he stays here, it tells me that he's looking for a better opportunity than even that, which is good for Arkansas as long as he can stay. You can keep the camaraderie between the staff, and you can get some guys to get in here and fill the voids real quickly. You can build a solid foundation, and man, that seems like it's been a long time since Arkansas has had a foundation everywhere.
It really is, Mark. I'm proud of Randy Shannon. You look at Oregon sniffing around, and Louisville. What Randy Shannon's telling you is he's going to places that care about defense. He's not going anywhere where he doesn't have a choice but to give up 30 points a game, like at an Oregon or like at a Louisville. So staff continuity is good. Look forward to Arkansas Razorbacks, Mark, as we shut it down here. I know we hope the basketball team gets it going. Florida could be really short-handed, missing Wilbekin and Prather, some injuries on that front. So Arkansas should be able to get it done.
Yeah, it looks like the Florida coaching staff is either trying to build in some excuses in case they get beat at Bud Walton on the road, or B, taking this Razorback team at what they saw from Wednesday night and saying, this team sucks, so we're just going to go in there and beat them without 3 of our best players. So we'll see how it turns out. It's a noon tip tomorrow in Fayetteville. I expect a couple of those guys to go, even if they're not quite up to speed, and just going to go ahead and tell you, I don't have high hopes anymore. I'm a fan. I know we do this every day when we try to analyze and things like that, but when I watch something like I saw the other day, I'm not going to let my hopes get up like they were before. So things have changed in my mind as far as the Razorback basketball team. I don't think they're as good as I thought they once were. Now, maybe they can prove me wrong, and I'll be happy to sit in here and eat crow. But I was frustrated with what I saw, and I'm hoping by Monday we're talking about a good win against the Florida Gators in Bud Walton. Hope we're talking about some good football wins from the teams that we picked in the NFL playoffs. Lots of good stuff going on this weekend. We hope you will take advantage. I know it's rough weather out there. It's raining here in the River Valley, but we hope you'll have a good weekend and join us back here at 11 o'clock on Monday. For Weldon and Maddie, I'm Mark saying so long from rivervalleyleader.com.